Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. Here we are. Episodes 44 and 45 of The Untamed. Holy cow, we only have this set and 2 more weeks of The Untamed. Because I'm going to watch episodes 46 and 47 and then episodes 48, 49, and 50 together. What? Now, obviously after that, after we're done with The Untamed, I won't be finished with the novel yet. I'm still doing the audio drama episodes and the chapter reviews for Modao Zushi, and we have 2 movies to watch after this. So I am going to be doing 1 week after The Untamed is over, the one film, the one with Mingzhu and Huisang, and then doing the other one because I'm going to complete the journey. We've made it this far. It's been like a year and a half. We're going to do it. So it's been like a year and a half of Modao Zushi. I'm going to complete the journey, complete the set. So yeah, holy crap. Okay. But we're here, episode 44. When we left off, WuXian and Wangji were headed to the Burial Mounds, and they stopped at a house and came across Mian, and WuXian, our oblivious gremlin, it took him a second, but he finally figured out who it was. So I'm assuming we're heading to the Burial Mounds, and I'm assuming we're going to get all that with the corpses in these 2 episodes. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. It's kind of exciting because I just recorded the chapters for the audio drama and the novel. And we're past the Burial Mound scene. We just got past it. So we just went back to like the Lotus Pier and that and everything. So I feel like I'm a little bit ahead in the novel, which is a weird feeling because for the longest time during watching this series, The Untamed has been ahead of the novel. And since we went back into Yi City, the novel's now pulled ahead. So I feel like all of the threads, by the time I get to the end of this, all the threads are going to be, I feel like The Untamed is still going to get done before the novel. So there's still going to be extra things to go over, but I'm still pretty excited by it. So I'm like, okay. All right. So yeah, I don't know what to expect out of these 2 episodes. I'm assuming we're going to get the Burial Mounds, but that's pretty much it. And I'm not sure what all we're going to get shown as far as censorship goes with the Burial Mounds. The Donghua and the novel have been quite different in how they did the events that went down in it. So I'm curious how The Untamed is going to do it. So we shall see, but I've been excited. Like I said in the Modao Zushi audio drama reaction, I've been away for like 5 or 6 days from my computer for a trip, and today's the first day I've got back home and got things settled away, and I was like, today is a Modao Zushi Untamed day. That's what today is, so I'm pretty excited, but I hope y'all are too, but let's not waste any more time. I'm ready to dive right in. It's been almost a week since I've watched Modao Zushi, so I need it back in my life. We're going to start episode 44 and 45 of The Untamed here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm very torn about these episodes because, man, the parts that are good, I really like, but they left so much out of the burial siege. Okay, because here's where I am. I recorded the novel section earlier, and I'm right past this part in the novel. Like, I'm in the next, where I'm at in the novel for this week is where I think we'll be next week, depending on what they cut and alter around, because there is actually a lot of Wangji in the novel where I'm at right now, and for censorship reasons, they're not going to show that to us, so they may cut a bunch of that out, so I may be actually caught up with The Untamed by next week in the novel. Who knows? But, man, they cut out a lot in this, and I guess it's for censorship reasons. We'll go through it, but oh my gosh. I mean, some of the parts in here I really like in these episodes. I would say these 2 episodes are not my favorite of all of them. The last week was amazing. Like, I loved episodes 42 and 43. They're probably some of my favorite in the series. And I don't know, this set of episodes, it's good. It's really good. And the whole scandal coming out is great. But they're probably not my favorite episodes, these 2. But they're good. And there's parts of them I was like, oh my gosh, like the emotion that the actors bring to this. I'm like, thank you. But then there's a lot of stuff they left out, and I'm like, hashtag tears. But, okay. One thing I love, though, is the little thing that they added with baby Mian. Like, the fact that her name is Lady Luo. I like that. I like that we finally find her name. We get her name, WuXian finally gets it. And I love that she named her daughter Mian. I love that she gave her daughter the actual name of the nickname. It's so cute. And her daughter was so precious, she didn't want to trust WuXian. She was like, I don't know about you. But instantly likes Wangji because everybody instantly likes Wangji. Of course they do. But I just love that. I love how the dad got like no words in edgewise. He's like, I'm a merchant, I'm her husband. She's like, he's my husband, he's a commoner. And I kind of like that symbolism that she left her clan behind. She left behind the JIN clan, like the wealthy clan, and went out and just married a common guy and was like, it's fine. I don't need to have wealth or anything. Like she found happiness and someone that accepted her for who she was. And he was just like a common guy too. He didn't have any fancy titles or names. And he seems to really love her. Throughout that entire conversation, he does look over to her a few times like, these guys are really hot. You grew up with them, huh? But I thought that was so sweet. And Man, like her daughter and everything, so cute. Like I absolutely love them adding that. That was really, really cute. And so then of course Ning is our precious cinnamon bun zombie, and we'll talk about what's coming up next. Ooh. But yeah, so Ning, our cinnamon bun zombie. I like how he's become somewhat comic relief in this show. It's kind of adorable in the weirdest way, but it's really cute. And then going back into the town, going back to the tea house. Like, I love that Ning just has a straw hat on. Like, no one will tell he's a dangerous puppet or recognize him as the ghost general because he has a straw hat on. It's fine. It's all good. That's so cute, though. That's ridiculously cute. That whole scene with Mian and the tea house and them coming back into town. They mention Yawn. Like, all the Yawn reveals. It's all adding up. Like, okay, all right. And then Wuxian has a lot of first time back moments in these two episodes, like him coming back to the Burial Mounds for the first time, to the Lotus Pier. And I like that in the moment he comes back to the Burial Mounds, him and Ning just having these moments of like looking around and seeing everything destroyed and them obviously not being there when it happened, and just kind of like having this like moment of not only reminiscing but grieving the loss of what once was. And I love Wuxian kind of putting his hand in the dirt and saying like, it's over now. I know it was destroyed, but this was, the hardest time we ever had was here. And he's like, I'm not wanting to stay here, obviously. It's just, we have to visit here for reasons. But I love the idea of him wanting Wangji to protect him, and Wangji's like, okay, sure. But at the same time, it's like you go from Wuxian like being like, Wangji, I may need you to protect me because my spirit energy is a little bit not what it used to be, and definitely not what it used to be before the whole golden core thing, which we'll talk about that at the end of this discussion. But I love that he goes from that to being like such a badass, like handing the sword to Ning, like rescue the boys, and then him and Ning are just like the least intimidating people. Man, JIN Ling, his actor, him and Cheng, looking so much alike, right? I also like how Ling in this episode, in these set of episodes, he acts a lot like Cheng. It's sort of like Ling parallels Cheng when Ling sees Wuxian hanging out with Sisi, who is basically his adopted son, and he gets kind of jealous. It's kind of like how Cheng reacts with Wuxian around Wangji, is that you're our family, and you're hanging out with these people who are not family. What's the deal? And it's like, they're kind of like family, though. Not maybe flesh and blood. But then again, the funny thing is Wuxian's not flesh and blood related to Ling or Cheng. It's by being adopted, but they've just grown up together, Cheng and Wuxian have. And so they've been like brothers. So then when Wuxian is always around Wangji, especially at this point in the novel, Cheng's kind of... You don't know exactly if Cheng is jealous, but he's at least not happy that Wuxian's not living up to that promise that he made with Cheng all those years ago, right? And then I just love Sushi, Cheng, and Chirin showing up. Zizin in these episodes was great. Zizin, however you pronounce his name, he was great, being like a Wuxian fanboy, sticking up for him. Like, I like that he's getting some screen time. And again, casting-wise, him and his dad, they're cast really well. They look very similar. It's great. And then Fang, I like also in this show, the way that they cast people, you can instantly tell who the actors are. Like, the moment that Fang and the sect leader Yao came on screen, I just knew who they were. And I know with sect leader Yao, y'all had pointed him out to me, so I kind of knew him ahead of time. But with Fang, I was like, oh, that's the Fang guy. And as he's talking, you just know. It's so great how they do that. And then Huiseng pops in. I like the Huiseng in that scene where Fang is like just dogging Wuxian. Huiseng's like, hey, I'm here. I'm here to not be suspicious, not acting, totally not going to go along with everything Wuxian says to try to clear his name, since that was my intent this whole time, since I'm trying to kill Yao. Don't mind me. Huiseng, now that I know, and now that we're getting closer to the temple scene at the end, I've been trying to watch Huiseng more and more, And every time he's on screen and every time you can see him, it's just like the wheels are turning. Like he's just, what do I do to manipulate this scene? It's so good. Once you know, it's like, after watching the Donghua, I'm like, every time I see Wei Sing, I'm just like watching him, like just to see like little hints. And it's so great. I just love that he pops up in this. And we'll get back to him in a second. But I do like some of the things that they changed. Like when they go to battle the puppets, Cheng like moving out in front to lead. I like that it's like one of the few moments we see Cheng like just take that leadership role and run with it. I really, really liked it. And him just like leaving Ling back, like, don't follow me. Like, let me take care of this. And then we have, Detective WuXian doing his detective work. Hui Sang is just playing dumb. I love it. I love that Hui Sang and Jingyi are spilling the tea. Like, Jingyi's like, well, of course the sushi's defected. Of course we don't like him. And Hui Sang's like, why ever so? Tell us more. It's just like, as he's like begging, he's like, I don't know what's going on. So tell me, fill me in. And Jingyi's happy to do it. It's great. Hui Sang is just such a gem in these episodes, just watching him. And I love the green robes he's donned now. He's getting ready for his final form. When he comes out, he's getting ready for his final form in the temple. I'm ready for it. But yeah, so episode 45, we go through the entire detective scene. It's just like the novel, just like the Donghua, where they go through and Hui Sang does his Scooby-Doo detective work. Sherlock Holmes does it and figures out that Sushi's behind it. And then figures out Sushi is the man with the ghost mask who pieces out and took the tiger amulet from Yang. And so that's interesting. And I like that Yang gets mentioned by WuXian in this moment during this scene. But you know what? No blood pool court. No Wind Sect members. And you know why? Because they were hung. That's why. I was trying to think about it in the moment. I'm like, why didn't we have the Wind clan members coming out of the blood pool? Because they were hung in front of the gates back during the Nightless City part. That's why. And it wouldn't make any sense for them to take those corpses all the way back to the Burial Mounds and toss them in the pool when they could just bury them there on the spot. Makes no sense. So I'm kind of disappointed in that, to be honest, because that moment in the Donghua and in the novel and the audio drama is so good. It's so touching. And they kind of circumvent around WuXian. They have Fang speak up at the beginning of the fight about WuXian. And I was curious that moment. I'm like, why is Fang being introduced now? Why is he bringing up all this now? We've not had the Wind Clan members come in. And I honestly think there's a lot lost in that scene because you not only have the Wind Clan members coming back and symbolically saving everyone despite being murdered by most of the ones that are there, but then it also connects to WuXian because WuXian's like, well, I've died. I've already died once. What else do you want me to do? And they kind of, the thing about the censorship with this show is that I noticed it during WuXian's conversation. It's to the point where I almost expected WuXian to be like, well, there was a second flute player, didn't you know? And he's the one behind it all. Like, I was expecting WuXian to say something like that at this point. Because this showed as a thing with censorship where they don't want WuXian to totally be, they don't want WuXian to be in the wrong. They want WuXian to be like the character in the right. And that's kind of how it's played up here. WuXian's like, well, we don't know if it was really my fault that those zombies went berserk in the Nightless City, but in the novel it is. And in the novel WuXian makes a claim and a point that, yeah, I did some bad things, I can't take them back, it's going to be with me the rest of my life, but I've died once, do you want me to die again? What do you want from me? And so WuXian kind of owns up to it, and that kind of happens here at the beginning, but then they kind of just drop it once he leaves, once they get out of the Burial Mounds. There's not that's the one thing that's sad, is because I like that they showed WuXian shucking the cloak and doing the talisman on his clothes with the blood. Like, I'm glad they kept that in. But part of the big moment is that Sisi and all of them go back to help despite them telling them to leave. Like, the big point is that the townspeople, all the clan leaders, go back to help WuXian. And then in the end, they all end up getting saved by the winds, and that leads to the conversation about WuXian being like, what do you want from me? So I feel like it's kind of sad that that's lost. And they just kind of are like, well, WuXian technically saved us, so I guess we'll go along with him for now. And it does fit the motif of the story. I'm just really sad they didn't include it. So instead they kind of have to make a bridge. And so they use the paper dragonfly, the grass dragonfly, to make the bridge with Yan and Ning. And we'll talk about that here in a second. And then they kind of touch back on the gossip in the boats. that's the second thing we're going to talk about is the boats. But there's no blood pool, no wind corpses, which is sad. Huiseng and Cheng hearing the gossip, Huiseng being in his green. I like it a lot. It contrasts very nicely with Cheng and his purple. But Ning and Sishui's conversation, it's kind of like in the novel, but kind of different. There's things I like and things that I'm kind of sad about. One, I really like the emotion that we see from Ning, like seeing him smile and him tear up and him realize it's Jan and be like, it's you. And I kind of get the idea that Jan realizes it's him too, because when he has the 2 grass dragonflies, it's like that part's really good. The emotion's really good. I really like that scene of them together. It's not, everybody's getting onto the boats leaving Lotus Pier, but nobody's left yet. In the novel, in the Dongwall, we don't really have this scene. At least I don't remember us having a scene in the Dongwall like this. In the novel, they're on the boats going towards Lotus Pier, and all the disciples are in a boat together, and that's how we get the whole seasick. Because the whole seasickness thing was kind of weird to start out with, because Sishui wasn't in a boat, and they were like, why are you seasick? And he's like, oh, it's just my constitution. I'm like, you're not in a boat yet moving, so it's weird that you're already seasick. But whatever. But it's odd, because in the novel, they're in a boat floating down the river, and then Ning is kind of like a turtle, like he pops up, and then it's played for like comedy, and then he hops on the boat with them, and they're in this enclosed space, so things get tense, and that's when Ling speaks up. And in the novel, WuXian and Wangji are awake and fully conscious, because that stuff with WuXian's already passed, but here they have WuXian be unconscious and waking up worrying about Ling. And I do like that. I do like that WuXian wakes up worried about Ling, who's in a dire situation the moment he wakes up, because of course he is. But it is kind of sad that we don't see them get to hop over from the boats. I guess the stunt work would have been really hard to do with that. And then it looks kind of odd when they're all just sitting there at the dock watching this conversation unfold. And you think, why didn't Cheng step in earlier when things first started getting heated? He waits until Ling is like sobbing. Because in the novel, it makes sense. Cheng is so many boats away, he doesn't realize that Ling is sobbing until he finally looks back and sees what all the hubbub is about. But here, he's somehow been unaware this entire time that this big dramatic conversation's gone down. But I get why they probably did it that way for budgeting concerns. For budgeting and stunt work, they probably didn't want to do all that stuff between boats. It would have been hard to do, so they just had it do it on the dock before they left. I get it absolutely. But yeah, Sishui and Ning have this reunion together. They have this moment, and then Ling, of course, and you get why Ling is upset. Because he's like, this guy killed my dad. He's the reason I don't have parents. And he's just strolling about, smiling and having a moment with Sishui, and nobody remembers all the suffering that I've been through because of this guy. They're all so easy to forgive him. And it's sad, because Ling tries to say something, but because he's Cheng's nephew, he lashes out. And everybody's like, why are you being this way, Ling? Why are you being such a bad person? And Ling's like, fine, just blame me for everything. And you do feel bad. And the moment he started crying, I was like, oh, honey, that was really, really sad. Really sad. And then, of course, Cheng's like, who's bullying you? I have to say, Cheng's actor in these 2 episodes was really good. I really like Cheng's expression. I like the way he carried himself. His acting was really good. I'm like, if we're getting the golden core reveal next set of episodes, it's over, y'all. It's over. I've been waiting. The novel version of the golden core reveal was great. I watched that this morning. It was great. And then we had that. And then we went from seeing that to seeing, we went from watching that to seeing, the golden core reveal in the Dongwall, to seeing it here, and now we're going to get it in the Untamed. It's like the trifecta will complete itself, right? I'm really excited if we're getting that next episode, and I think we are. Maybe not in 46, but definitely in 47, I'm sure. And I'm very curious to see how it's handled in that. But I like, at first, when they arrive at Lotus Pier, I thought when Cheng was like looking at Ning's like, I'll just wait outside. Because in the novel, Ning kind of goes off into town and Sishui follows him. And here, it makes more sense that Cheng's like, don't come in. You're not welcome. And so Ning sits outside out of courtesy and Sishui sits with them to talk. And they tell all the stories. And I'm glad they kept the rabbit thing in. I thought they were just going to do the radishes, but they kept the rabbits in as well. I was like, And then, of course, WuXian and Wangji looking at their son like, look at you. But yeah. And then, yeah, Cheng doesn't let them in the hall at first. I was like, interesting. He doesn't let them in at first, and so WuXian sits down outside. I like that Wangji's like, I'm not sitting on this dirty step. And so he just kind of like stands off to the side. And I also like how WuXian's just like lounging about, his legs spread open and everything. And Wangji's like, this is inappropriate. I don't have inappropriate thoughts. I won't look. And therefore I won't have those thoughts. And so he like keeps his eyes closed. I thought that was great. And then finally he lets him in. It's like he's letting a dog in the house. Like a dog's been bad and he's keeping it outside on the porch. And then finally he looks at WuXian and he's like, fine, come in. That's what it felt like. But yeah, I was so ready because in the novel this week we get WuXian and Wangji on their date throughout the Lotus Pier, and I kept wanting to go to that. But because it's censorship, I don't think we're going to get any of those moments in this show, which is sad because in the novel there's such good moments. And because it's Wangji, I don't think we're going to get it in the Untamed, which is tragic. Those scenes are amazing in the novel, and I really liked them this week. But yeah, we get Sisi and Bicao. They show up. I love as soon as they show up and Sisi's like, I'm a prostitute. We cut to cheer and he was like, I like that's who we cut to. It's like the purest man in here. That's who needs to have a reaction. They both look young, I'm just going to say. And maybe they are older women and they just have amazing skincare routines. And Sisi was a concubine. She was a prostitute. So sure, okay, but they just look so young. They're a lot younger than I imagined. And even in the flashback scene where they go to Daddy JIN, in the novel, in the Donghua, it makes you think that they're older women, like in their late 50s, early 60s. And these women look like they're in their 30s. So, but then again, the novel did say Daddy JIN was only in his 40s, and I was like, really? How young was he when Yao was born? Okay. I guess he could have been 20. Okay, sure. But yeah, they just looked so young. But, Daddy JIN, that scene. Mm-hmm. They surprisingly showed us a lot. They censor out a Wangji kiss. They censor out people dying and doing this whole puppet thing. But they don't censor out this woman on top of this guy, like, getting it on. Oh, I mean, not that they did, but there was enough shown there that I was like, wow, I'm surprised it got past the censors like that. Interesting. But yeah, I do like that the atmosphere in that scene is so much different because in the Donghua, it's like this golden room and it's illuminated in the light and it seems like very like shiny and golden and it's the polar opposite of this. The polar opposite. In the novel, you don't really get an idea of what the atmosphere is like. But here, it's like dark and gloomy. And you can kind of see why Sisi and the others would be fearful going into this environment because it's so, like, sketch. Whereas in the Donghua, you're like, well, why would they be worried about anything? It doesn't look like anything they're not used to. And here, it looks a little grungy and grimy. And so I could see them being like, what is this? Why are we here? And they gave Yang's line to Yao. The whole line about how keep doing it even after he's dead, they gave it to Yao. I was like, because I was really, it's in character. In character, it makes sense for Yang to say it. Because after Villainous Friends and everything, we realized that Yang has the type of personality that he would say something like, oh, just keep doing him even after he's dead. He would. But with Yao, no. And so it's kind of funny because it's almost like the show really wants us to think that Yao is the bad guy. Yao is the villain. So I'm curious with the Huiseng reveal how that's going to be happening in the Untamed versus the novel. It's going to be interesting to compare those two moments, especially since the novel is going to probably give us more Wangji content and this is not. But yeah, I couldn't believe they gave him that line. I was like, oh, we're really going to have Yao say that. All right. Okay. And then poor Ling's reaction. Ling's reaction throughout all this was tragic. Like, he just got more and more upset. Because Ling, it's like his whole world has, again, the parallels between Ling and Cheng. Cheng is about to get his world entirely thrown upside down with the whole golden core reveal. And then Ling, over the course of these last several episodes, he's had his whole world turned upside down. He's realized that Ning is not the monster that he thought he was. That WuXian's not the monster he thought he was. His parents are still dead despite it, though, and so that's frustrating. But now his uncle, Yao, who he told WuXian back a couple episodes ago, was like all against violence and for peace and everything. It was this ideal uncle role model. He's learning what he's done, and now he's getting absolutely angry about it. And I don't think in the novel, I don't think any of the junior disciples were there. I thought they all went out to like peruse the town, like with Ning and with Sisi, and they weren't there in the dueling hall. I don't think they were there in the novel. So it's curious that we get this reaction from Ling. I'm wondering what impact that's going to have later on, because it's not really in the novel. So that's interesting. And then yeah, my last note was Daddy Jin is the worst, because he is. Honestly, he's my least favorite character in the story. I would not wish violence upon anybody in real life, ever. But, do I mourn Daddy Jin's death? No. He's kind of the whole reason everything is awful in this series. And at the end of the episode, I love how sect leader Yao is like talking about Daddy Jin's the worst, and WuXian's just like, like, yep. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. So, oh my gosh. So what we're setting up is next episode to finish the whole thing with Yao, to finish all that, to get the mob mentality swarming. They're going to go to Golden Koi Tower and do their thing. And then I'm assuming we're going, unless we got either to go two ways. The Donghua has us going to the tower first, and then we do the Golden Core reveal later. The novel has us going and doing the Golden Core reveal and then the tower. And so that's where I'm at, is that we just had the Golden Core reveal in the reaction that came out this morning. And then now we're getting ready to go to the temple. So I'm assuming that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the Golden Core reveal while we're here in the Lotus Pier. We're going to go ahead and do it. And then we're going to, after that, go to the tower and then have our climax and everything in those final episodes. So yeah. That's a lot. There's a lot of ground to cover in the next episode or two. So I could see in episode 46 covering the Golden Core reveal and the rest of this whole deal with Bicao. I could see episode 46 covering it, and maybe episode 47 having them go to the tower. So, or the temple. So, that's interesting. But yeah, I liked these episodes a lot, and the acting was really, really good throughout. They're not my favorite episodes, but I did enjoy them quite a bit. And I have a feeling, though, the Golden Core reveal has been amazing in the Donghua. It's been amazing in the novel. So I'm like, okay, third time's a charm. Let's do this. I'm really excited for the next episode that comes next week. Really excited. So we shall see, though, right? So in any case, I hope y'all enjoyed this reaction. I hope y'all enjoyed this discussion. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, especially about the stuff they left out of episode 45 and the things that they switched around. I'm really curious to know your thoughts about all that, especially if you've watched the Donghua or read the novel. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back next week with episodes 46 and 47 of the